speaker, who is Christy McGee, Business Intelligence Lead with STS. Some of the content that her presentation will cover, and I'll just read a little bit of the description here as we get ready. You can slide in here.
Thank you.
Data analysis isn't just about assembling, ordering, and interpreting data. It's also about educating, simplifying, clarifying, and persuading. In the hands of skilled analysts, data can make a powerful impression on its viewers. Data can change opinions, it can instill values, and translate experiences. It can influence society and inform human behavior. Data analysis and visualization isn't only about reporting change, data can bring about change. So that's a bit of the description, and please welcome to the podium, Christy McGee.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. So it's a big title to live up to with all of the information that I posted in the talk for this. But when we really think about visualizations, we should really realize that the breadth and the depth of what we're presenting is from, we can be presenting the visualizations on data from our data architects or the work that they've done, and you're really trying to showcase, really you're showing everything. So let me just jump into it, and I guess it'll speak for itself. I'll start by saying I'm a reformed accountant, and now I'm a developer, so I'm not necessarily a big speaker, but I've been leading the Tableau user group here in Nashville for about 5 years now. We've grown to about 400 users, and there's so many people using this, and not just Tableau, but data visualization in general. People are starting to really become data literate, and I think that as we are with the state, it's the utmost thing that we can do to present the data and the things that we're showing to the public and help them become data literate as well. So with that, I usually get you just make the data pretty, but they don't understand what all is involved. The role of the data communicator is complex. The goal should be to create information experiences that transform how audiences think about a subject and make better decisions. And I got really excited when I saw that I was going to be behind you, Jason, talking about web accessibility, because I think partnered together, we really can shoot for the moon. So what is data visualization? That's where, you want to start. And when I usually teach, I get way in the weeds with everything, and I keep having to pull up because as a developer, that's where you're used to developing. But a lot of people don't even understand what data visualization can even be. You might think of data visualization as a conventional thought is usually a dashboard. You have metrics, you have sales numbers and accounting, and you might not realize that visualization and data is everything that you do. Data is, if you're recording it, your Fitbit data, your weather data. These are also data visualizations. Why did it pull that one first? Anyway, so when you're playing with your kids at night, we created dashboards, we're creating data. And so he knows who to play next with Pokemon. When you're checking the weather, do I need an umbrella today? That is the most persuasive data visualization I can even think of. Think about it. You just watch the news and you take it for granted. They're going to tell you it's going to rain. You carry an umbrella. And it keeps going back to that one too. That's awesome. Even this is a data visualization. This is built in our Tableau tool. Where do I go? How do I sit? Where am I? Data is not just profit and loss statements and everything that we generally think of, but it can also be, if the data is available, it can be where you sit. It can be your Outlook calendar if we're collecting that kind of thing. I really like this idea because it can even be what's available in this conference room. So I know where I'm scheduling things if I can do that. I thought about this after I went to a meeting in the wrong building. Went up to the floor. I was like, I don't know all of these acronyms. So why? My husband and I have this banter. He's a financial analyst. And he's like, I don't understand what the point is of what you do. I think it's just a novelty. Data visualizations, good ones, can make data easier to understand. We can detect patterns, trends, and outliers. And they should place a meaning into complicated data sets so their meaning is clear and concise. He'll usually tell me, I don't mind looking at data. I can just look at this pivot table. And you might know a little bit about this data set or these 4 data sets. They all have the same average, mean, and variance and correlation. So if you were to just look at this in a pivot table, you can't really tell anything. But to actually see it visualized, you can tell that they all have different structures. There's trending, there's outliers in group C and D. Really, it takes, a fraction of the time it would have taken you to scan. But my usual problem is trying to get, and I can get people to understand this, but when we start, and I can really even speak to this, when we start down this road, we're using Excel, and we're used to looking at pivot tables. So I find that my gateway drug into data visualizations is like a heat map. So you can look at this immediately and tell where your high points are. This isn't the best way to show, I like the previous slide, but for a lot of people to know what that are used to seeing detailed information, this is a good way to start them down the path. So boy, I'm going fast. I was like, I've got too much to go through. But how do we think about design when we actually see it? What makes good design and bad design? So we need to, you think of, I've teaching, it doesn't really, I don't think it clicks with a lot of people. They say, well, I've got Excel. I'm just going to use this data visualization tool. Whether it be Power BI or R or Tableau or whatever it is, they think it should all be kind of the same structure. I'm just going to show a spreadsheet of information. But you really need to think about the structure of what you're trying to do, and you're trying to convey this storytelling that people talk about. So the first thing, you want to start with a purpose. This is the hardest for me because I jump all over the board. I'm like a Jack Russell in a tennis ball factory. I have to keep focused on what I'm presenting. And it reared its ugly head this morning trying to put this stuff together. I was like, okay, keep it real. Choose appropriate visualizations, color, size, and shapes, and keep your page layout in mind. This all sounds like web designer talk, doesn't it? Because we're really using a data-driven drawing tool when you think about it. I've heard, I was in a meeting and somebody said, my mom didn't put my work on the fridge. Well, that's fine, but if you've got something that's ugly, nobody wants to look at it, and then you've wasted your time. Sorry. I might not be speaking next time, but I think that it really speaks to your work and really speaks to I try to really be proud of what I do. So when you start with a purpose, you have to think. There are some general questions generally. Who's the audience? Who's going to look at this? We love our acronyms here at the state. Everybody loves their acronyms in their internal workforce. But if I'm building something for the public, acronyms, they don't know who SOS is. They think they're calling for help. I looked up my second day here, we had the ITPA meeting, and so I thought I was going to be big and Google it. It is not the Indiana tractor pull, which is the first result in Google. So how will it be used? You have to think of this when you start. It's really good if you have requirements, but if you're like me and you're going into this, nobody has requirements for you. They say, we have this data and somebody told us we need to visualize it. What do I do? I'm going to trust you. So you have to think, is this going to be on the TV? Is this going to be in management meetings or day-to-day operations? And there again, you have to keep your focus. I keep striving for that. Going through this, I keep looking back at the invite to make sure I'm covering the points. But to build a data fluent culture starts with us and putting together reputable data products. So the biggest thing I had was I heard somebody say, if you don't have any questions, you put out visualizations or reports or whatever, and nobody's asking you, they've not looked at it, and it's just all for naught. Because usually you will always have somebody that wants to change something or that wants to add more information. So the biggest issue that people have in adopting is usually, if it's me, I'm a data analyst. I'm creating things for myself and individual contributors. So I'm going to make something that's detailed, timely, takes a lot of time. But when you're designing for people up the chain, you have to be cognizant of the time that they have. You are the data expert for what you're doing. You're the SME for not only Tableau, but for the data itself. And so you don't really want to put out, things. Think about when you watch the news. When you're watching the news, they just give you a percentage. I hate this. I hate it when they say, I think the stat I read on this is 90% of the data is generated in the last 2 years. That's huge. You don't have time to look that up and to verify it. So it's important to keep it honest. But so it cut that off. If I'm designing a visualization for an analyst, I think that they should have more time. This is one of my favorite visualizations, but it takes about 5 minutes to explain it. It's Napoleon's march to France. In the Russian campaign, you can tell when he started and he goes up, and there's just so much detail for this. And generally, data analysts love this. But if I were to do this and give this to my boss or anybody else, they wouldn't have the time to dig into this. They go from meeting to meeting. So I would present them with this. This is what we did. You have to, what are the key points for this? So I hate bubble charts, but I think this is a great use of it. We won. Good job. We had a lot of people that died and a few people that survived, but it's the cost of war. So you have to think, the next question is, how will this be used? Are you putting it on a TV? If you're putting it on a TV, you can't have any filters. You have to make it dynamic. Nobody needs to see trending that you could see trending over time, but I don't need anybody to filter anything. Or is this going to be something that needs to be built for a particular user? Am I going to need to put security in so when Andy logs into this dashboard, he gets only his data out, and he can filter it for things and he can see things. So these are all things that you have to think of at the start. This is starting to sound a lot more complicated than making text blue or green, and I think a lot of my time is spent in this kind of thought process. Keep your focus. A good idea to keep your focus is in Tableau, you've got these nice little captions at the bottom of the screen or something, or if you're building it in Excel or whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter what tool you're using, but in this case, I could keep what I want to say in that visualization at the bottom. And it doesn't have to be visible for everybody, but it keeps me on track. When I build and I say, okay, this tells me exactly what I'm looking for here, I'll take it off and consider it done. But it's good to keep your focus in front of you and keep you on track. Like I'm keeping the agenda right here, just so that I'm still on track, chasing the right tennis ball. So the next section, I am really running through this, but this is a huge one. It is what we call encoding. Encoding is when you make changes to the marks or to the actual records in the visualization. You're not affecting any of the data, but this is using color and size and shape to help your user see it quickly. And this is a great segue from Jason's talk, is about using colorblind friendly colors. And the thing I've seen a lot, and I've done some stints at the software school and talked to some other people, and A lot of people get very excited when they see that they can put things on colors, and not everything should be. You do not need a color per bar for every department. There's 75 departments or something, and you have a color per bar, it loses its meaning. So you have to keep focused on what you're trying to tell the user. So use a cohesive color palette, use colorblind friendly palettes, or colorblind. I mean, that's a new one. I like using shapes and sizes to draw attention because I'm lazy and I don't always look for the colorblind design. There's actually a really good add-in for Chrome called No Coffee, and you install the extension and you can see what a website looks like in colorblind friendly, all the different options. So if I were going to look at this dashboard right here, this is great. Ryan Sleeper designed it with Playfair data. The colors are the colors in his own website because he wants to draw attention to his own work, which is fine. But if I were to look at that with No Coffee, this is what it looks like with a certain type of color blindness. And you can still see everything because what he's doing is using different shapes instead of similar colors. This is also good, too, to keep from doing the stoplight colors. Every time I see stoplight colors, I think Christmas time, and see the profit and loss. It just is, I get the eye twitch. But if you see it in grayscale, I'm glad they're videoing. You see it in grayscale and you can still tell everything. This is where using shapes too also really helps. I mean, you can tell because of the certain kinds of shapes what they're looking. I think this is ticket sales, this is the movie, this is the score, and this is whatever it is. It says audience score. But this is a good segue into talking about shapes, because what I hear usually from other visualization people is that we're very creative. We want our work to be shown. We want the help button to look like a fire hydrant or something, But why do that when you can use the certain aspects of our I don't know what to call it, our memory or our just how we're processing data? We know that a help icon is usually a question mark or something. Use the simple things like that and be creative with other stuff. It really helps your users be able to see the data. And some of the last points are just when you get your visuals together, just the layout that you're putting them in. I see a lot of people that don't respect the white space. This is killing me itself because there's too many things on this little this screen. But try not to use more, and these are not hard and fast rules, they're guidelines. Don't use more than 5 visualizations. White space is your friend. Use interactivity to keep the view simple. I love this because when the biggest challenge I've had here at the state is it's awesome. I'm building things for people. I'm building things for the public. I'm building things for data scientists, for my grandmother, for, who knows who the audience is. Keep it simple and allow your users to drill in to get the answers that they need. You put the whole kitchen sink in and they just, as a person with ADHD or something, you're just like, I don't know which tennis ball to follow. I don't know where to look. So it's good to have everything, keep your story and everything in line. And if you're building with detailed data that drills down, build from the top down. It's just a good mode of thinking. And, here we actually have huge resources. We have, like 300 desktop users here. We have STS. We have tons of people that we can use for user testing. I'm the public. You're the public too, So, we could always utilize. I even try to get my mother to look at things. If she doesn't understand it, I try to dial it back. I give it the 5-second test. If you can tell what something is in 5 seconds, and I can tell you that most accidents happen, it looks like on the holidays. You can see right here, July the 4th is like a big fatality. I want to see off the roads right around Christmas. Then if it passes your test, then it's good to go. But for resources to help, we have Tableau Doctor Days. here with STS. In closing, I know that was a lot of stuff, but we have Tableau Doctor Days where we actually speak kind of like a Tableau user group internal, where we have sessions and we talk about the new content with not just Tableau, but data visualization best practices. I offer Tableau levels 1 and 2 business user training, and really try, and I just got out of my 4th cohort, so we're really trying to take business users and teach them everything that from the ground up what Tableau can do, to an intermediate level user. So it's great if they don't even bother even looking at Tableau or digging into it next time. They know what to ask the developers. So they can say, I know it can do this. I don't be lazy. And we are also looking at other events and sessions to help empower our users. So we're always open to suggestions. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Christy before she sits down? No problem.
I get so excited. Yes, sir.
She was right. She dropped the mic and just walked away.
I told my husband I was just going to drop the mic. He's like, no.
Well, you did. You can tell
Yeah,
me.
yeah. It was like, I'm done.
This may go hand in hand with your layout tips there, but like you said, management, we love our pretty little colors and stuff,
Yes.
but then sometimes we have to balance the simplifying it so much that we lose key points that we want them to take away from it. Do you have any tips in maintaining that balance of keeping it concise, but also getting your main points across?
Sure. I really like to use, so if I'm looking at a profit and loss statement or something, coming from the background I am, I really only care about what's being lost. You know, the numbers that are on the negative. So I probably would only highlight the subcategories with the negative profit. Or, you know, if I'm making a bar charts with things, you know, the colors, I might make white or light colored, and the ones I really want you to focus on, I will make a specific color. If you have everything, that actually is good, because with data visualizations, there's this term we call chart junk, data ink ratio. It's just having a lot of showing the grid lines, showing all this. If you keep those to a minimum, and you can show more actual meat to your visualization. So if I were in your shoes, I probably would make sure my axes were either very small or very light, if I even had them. So I'm really highlighting what I want users to see. It hit me when I started developing one of my first dashboards, and I had a Tableau consultant in with me, and he's like, why are you making the text for that bigger? I was in a learning management company. I don't care about user. I was making user huge and the number very small. He goes, I want the number of users. So make that your focal point, the number, and the label smaller. Just changing the way, you know, you see it. Yes, sir.
Is there a cost for Tableau as an application for different domain users? Like I do security from PCS. Is it available for all STS?
I think I'll have to go to my manager or one of my very experienced people, because I would tell you it costs your firstborn, but I don't want any more children, so that's probably a good.
Yeah, so Tableau is available to those who request it, and it is in the service catalog in Snow. You can ask for it. We have a server and a desktop license.
There's also Tableau Public if you wanted to try it on a individual user. If you're doing it for here, that's not the road we
Yeah,
go
let
down.
me.
Don't throw things at me.
Yeah, let me just say, if you do engage in Tableau Public, please don't put state data. Everybody can see it. That would not be really what you want to use.
That's actually a good point. When you're putting things out there, be cognizant that what we're putting out there is very easily seen. Please, I don't care how much time you've spent. Usually as data analysts, we spend about 90% of our time cleaning data. If you spelled the word Tennessee wrong, I'm not going to look at the rest of your visualizations because I'm not going to trust any of the data. So, and not to put Tennessee stuff on in the public.
Right. I mean, the other thing too is if you accidentally fat finger it and put that child pregnancy is on the rise, and it really isn't, and you put that out in Tableau Public, then news sources are going to pick that up, and it's just going to be. So I would encourage you not to use Tableau Public, please.
That also is a personal thing for me. We have so much data. It's like we should really get ahead of this stuff as a state before our public does. Yes, ma'am.
I was just curious, do you find limitations with the color palettes in Tableau and our state branding standards?
Yes. Yes. Actually, we have all the color, the state branding color standards that we can load into your instance of Tableau, but they are pretty limited. I can tell you that they have been tested with colorblind friendly sites. Like I know if you were to look for color palettes, there's a place called Color Brewer has very good tested colors for color blindness, and you can see qualitative, quantitative color schemes, and you really can do some digging. Yes, sir.
Greg's comment reminded me of an experience we had together in a previous life at a company where we had folks on like the operations side that were measuring their employees' productivity, and we had finance and accounting folks that were looking at the same data and they were using it for billing purposes. And really, there were a bunch of different groups of people doing different things with the same data, and
Yes.
inevitably, what they were reporting to people, whether it was our own employees on their productivity or our customers for billing purposes, didn't jive, and that actually ended up putting our company in all kinds of legal trouble and everything else. So I think like when I work with data and think about putting stuff out in the public, like you've got to be super
Yes.
careful that somebody else isn't putting out the same information with a different spin on it or whatever.
Yes.
Because you may unintentionally be creating a bunch of liability for the state.
I had to take those slides out because I didn't had enough time. I was like, I'm going to keep it focused on this. But data governance, huge. I come from a place that we had 8 reporting solutions and we all had the same dashboards or the same reports, but none of the numbers jived. So people didn't trust any of them. So I created these stories and Tableau actually to say, this was your number before we did anything. This is your number when we took X out. This is your number, and led them down the path to let them see how I did the numbers. But data governance is huge. I think that's something that we will have to. I know that we're working towards, of course, any place is, but it's something to be very cognizant about. So does anybody else have any questions or anything? I can just keep going. I mean, because I'm not a speaker, but I'm passionate about this and this topic and the fact that, I see, I could go out and Google, Tennessee visualizations or data and just get tons of info from other people. So my thought is that, put our hands together, sing Kumbaya, and do this data visualization stuff together before it gets done by other people that are not presenting the story that we want to. So that's my secret objective. Not so secret now. But does anybody else have any questions or anything? I will give you back the floor then. Thank you.
I want to thank Christy as well as all of our presenters on this evening. I think I can say for everyone involved, Christy, you're welcome to come back anytime you like. I really love the part about the ugly picture on the refrigerator. As parents, we probably have to put it up there, but there's no rule on how long we have to leave it up there, right? So you're right. You're right. You take it out on trash day when it's on the curb. But thank you for your time today, Jason. I know Ann had to leave a little early, but thank you all again for presenting. It's not easy to get up here and present. I think any of you that have ever presented in any form or fashion can relate. It's not the easiest thing to do, so I appreciate all of our folks for presenting today, because they said yes without hesitation. So that just speaks to the passion. It speaks to the information, to the commitment, and we just appreciate that. If you have any follow-up questions, or something comes to you later, if you want to reach out to the person that presented, or to myself, or to maybe even Carrie, we'll make sure that information that you're seeking gets back to you in some form or fashion. Also, for those of you streaming, if there's information that we didn't get to you on today, please reach out to myself, Brandon Bowers. My email address is brandon.bowers@tncourts.gov, and I'll make sure you get what you're looking for. Just one announcement that I wanted to make on behalf of Mark Ridings, who's streaming with us this morning. And I apologize in advance if I do not get the name where it needs to be. But the announcement is the TWRA IT Professional of the Year Award was presented to Tepperit for Humphreys, or Teddy Y. So we're going to call him Teddy Y. He's the software developer lead that's supervising the TWRA development team. The award will be presented at the February Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission meeting in Nashville. So again, congratulations to Teddy Y. That is a great honor. And kind of along that line, we want to celebrate. We can use this platform to celebrate the successes of our IT community across the state. So if you have information similar to that that you would like shared, then please feel free to let us know that. As part of my responsibilities with ITPA is to help coordinate the information that you receive. So please get that to me, and we'll make sure we share that information. Also, a couple of housekeeping items for me as we close out. The 2020 awards are around the corner, so please start thinking about nominations for the 2020 ITPA Awards. The award ceremony is always in December, but we'll start looking at nominations, etc., as time grows closer. So please start thinking about the great work that you're doing or your team members are doing, etc., and let's start thinking about who we can nominate. And let's get a lot of nominations out there this year. Let's celebrate the work that we do in IT. Also, last but not least, let us know what type of information you guys find value in, and we'll try to get that presented in this meeting. To this point, this is our second meeting of the year, and we've just come up with some ideas that we either presented on last year or we thought was important to kind of give us a foundation to moving forward. But if you have thoughts, if you have ideas, if you have information that you want to present, please get with me and help me understand what it is. And I love Christy's point. What's the narrative that we want to share? And we'll make sure that we get a slot for you that's appropriate. So that's all the information I have. Carrie, do you have anything else for us? All right, so this will conclude our February meeting. Thank you all for your time and attendance.